Welcome friends! In this series I play a selected retro console game and then follow that with a simple question. Is it engaging or is it enraging? Today's game is a console port of the massive arcade hit Double Dragon for the Nintendo Game Boy and was released in August 1990. Developed by Technos of Japan and produced by Trade West, this side-scrolling beat-em-up was one of the most heavily ported arcade games ever produced, having appeared on over 30 different consoles and 8-bit computers. These ports range from competent conversions like the Nintendo Entertainment System version, all the way down to the sloppily tacked together, misery-inducing, bombastically bloody awful Commodore 64 version. This version was so utterly awful that the manual included a note from the programmers stating that graphical compromises had to be made due to the Commodore 64's architecture, rather than the inconvenient truth that the game was hilariously badly programmed by a team that had wooden stumps for hands and coded software by repeatedly smashing their heads into their keyboards. During their lunatic fever dreams, they did away with such unnecessary extravagancies like being able to defeat an enemy in less than 20 punches, or being able to use more than 2 weapons. They even left out the final boss in this version. Well, granted, the game's story isn't exactly up to Shakespeare standards with its usual massively overused 1980s girl is kidnapped, fight goons, beat up boss, rescue swooning girl shtick, but leaving the final boss out of a scrolling beat-em-up game is like having a Transformers film without Megatron or a Michael Bay film without 500 ludicrous and unnecessary jump cuts per minute. A classic arcade experience wouldn't be complete without having a Tiger Electronics atrocity to contend with. As usual, Tiger Electronics proved they were truly the arse crack of the gaming industry by providing yet another unplayable and completely butchered pretense of a game akin to paying for a firm kick to the bollocks with a steel toe-cap boot. So, bearing in mind there are many good ports of Double Dragon, and many more ports that are as appealing as a baseball cap full of walrus pus, where does our humble Game Boy port sit? Trying to match the graphical prowess of the arcade original was far beyond the reach of our glorious 2.7-inch quad green little pixel brick of wonderment, so Technos took the decision to base this port on their earlier Nintendo Entertainment System version, with this game being one of the earliest Game Boy games made available. Was this port the victim of an inexperienced early console game development, or will it be a standout title that is forever lauded to the heavens by its grateful fans? After defying the "for play only in the USA and Canada" statement, because that's the kind of lawless oaf I am for brazenly playing it in the UK, the game begins with our egregious violence expert Billy Lee, on a mission to rescue his love interest Marion from the Black Warriors gang. For the purposes of this port, Billy's twin brother Jimmy has been forced headfirst into a wood chipper, as he is completely missing from the whole main mission. However, if you want your Jimmy Lee fix, both you and a friend can head into Mode B and have the Lee brothers mindlessly flail at each other for 30 seconds until one of you falls over. Overall, this mode is a shambolic waste of cartridge space. This port was a considerably different experience to that of the arcade original. Despite how groundbreaking the original arcade version was, the frame rate and overall sluggishness of the gameplay was a constant hassle reminiscent of trying to start a 1960s car with a crank handle on a cold winter's morning in Siberia. Once we gained control of our fist-flinging failed negotiator, the initial impression is excellent, as we are treated to smooth gameplay, excellent graphics, tight and responsive controls, mostly, and one of the best soundtracks ever made for the system. To keep the game as smooth as possible, Technos always limited the number of sprites on the screen to a maximum of 3. However, if you think that this limitation made the game easier to complete, then please allow me to gently correct this notion with a startling, frothing ferocity. This game has sudden difficulty spikes that are the subtlety equivalent of trying to tidy up a small portion of frosting on a wedding cake by smacking it with a claw hammer. Mission 1 eases you into the game quickly, and after learning of the fun possibilities that a hole in a stage can bring, you are thrust into your first boss fight with an abobo. After you realise that walking in diagonals towards your enemy is the 80s beat-em-up equivalent of hacking the game, you'll manage to dispatch the abobo with ease. Your first big challenge is complete, and a newfound air of confidence suddenly manifests in you. Mission 2 sees you in a factory, and all feels well again until you get your first taste of the blisteringly bloody awful second use for a jump kick, as this game obstinately insists on you surviving precise platform jumps with a character that has all the aerodynamic grace of a house brick that's still attached to the rest of the house. Losing lives in such a manner is serious business for a game that insists that continues are for weedy, cotton-legged wimps, and that the entire game must be completed in one go with only 3 lives on offer and an extra life bestowed upon you every 20,000 points, which may happen 3 times if you're lucky. The second part of Mission 3 is where all of your misplaced confidence will be shredded by the game's sudden surge of vicious mendacity, as we come to the mother of all platform sections, with the added bonus of the screen scrolling mid-jump guaranteeing that Billy will be slowed down enough to fall into the bubbling pit of misery beneath him. This is where you realise that you have plenty of time to think about your failure, as the game slam dunks you right at the beginning of the area regardless of any progress you made. It's this fun little feature that will quickly send you screaming and gibbering into the arms of a friendly man in a white lab coat armed with a gargantuan syringe filled with angry bees, as the final mission brings about 2 more surprise horror shows. Although getting past this being sucked into the doors of death section is no great trial, just you wait until you get to the part with a wall and a slim walkway where the blocks pop out continuously. Not only do these blocks hit Billy with all the power of a rocket-propelled crank-handled pencil sharpener, but what hate-filled maniac made them pop out at random? Once you emerge on the other side of this vitriolic filth of a section by no other means than the sanity-melting lunatic musings of Lady Luck, you better hope to have enough health to go through the next 10 enemies and the final boss, so you know what's going to happen, don't you? Like it did with me. Twice! Following a table flipping frenzy in honour of playing this mission from start to finish 4 times, we finally get to see the boss of this ragtag bunch of scrap-happy nutjobs. We know that Willie must be special, as he has the only gun of the entire gang, that also fires comically large bullets that might as well be bullet bills. After using our favourite walking diagonals technique, Willie is soon beaten, and we are met with a grateful Marion and the statement, "You have saved Marion's life with your own hands," as opposed to using somebody else's hands, or my feet. I used my hands to thrust his hands into the faces of his enemies, so that's 4 hands. Oh, I'm confused! Having satisfactorily completed a story with the plot complexity of a dot-to-dot puzzle with only 2 dots on the page, is this game engaging, or is it enraging? Given all the ups and downs we saw earlier, I can conclude that Double Dragon for the Game Boy is an engaging game. The experience brings a large amount of positive gameplay elements and provides a solid beat-em-up experience, albeit a difficult and unforgiving one. Until next time on Engaging or Enraging, goodbye friends.